Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Mohit Adia, and on behalf of Gujarat University and IDSR, I welcome you all to this event. We also welcome all the audience joining us today from various streaming platforms. This event is brought to you by the Institute of Defence Studies and Research, Gujarat University. Institute of Defence Studies and Research has been established at University Ahmedabad with the patronage and support of the government of Gujarat. IDSR is an autonomous institute dedicated to conducting academic and research activities with a mission to pave way for quality human resource in the defense sector while functioning as an organization working towards augmenting the defense policy and research. The institute promotes national and international security through the generation and dissemination of knowledge on defense and homeland security related issues. Established in 1949 under the Gujarat University Act, the Gujarat University is the largest and oldest university in Gujarat. The idea of setting up the university was conceived in the 1940s, and the seed of inceptions was laid down by Shri Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel under the chairmanship of Mr. G.B. Mavlanka in consultation with Mr. Kasturbhai Lalbhai and Acharya Anand Shankar Dhruv. The glory of the university is reflected in some of the eminent alumni like Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Prime Minister of India Shri Narendra Modi, Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, former Chairman ISRO, Dr. Ela Bhatt, Founder Self-Employed Women Association, Justice Ahmadi, former Chief Justice of India, among others. As the paradigm shift in social, political and economic policies took place from the early 90s, the university has maintained pace with the changes by introducing a number of programs in emerging interdisciplinary areas with promising employment opportunities which geared the evolving needs of the society at large. I invite you to join us in watching a playback video of our university song. Sorry? Huh? Yeah, please rise on your seats. Now I would like to request Professor Himanshu Pandya sir, Vice Chancellor Gujarat University and DG IDSR to felicitate our guest. The VC will present a shawl and a hamper of useful articles made from waste by rural artisans of Gujarat, which is presented by Karigar Clinic, which is a startup of AIC GUSEC Gujarat University. Please have a big round of applause. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite up on stage Vice Chancellor, Gujarat University, DG, IDSR, Professor Himanshu Pandya sir to deliver a welcome address. Please have a big round of applause.
Namaskar. Good morning. Good morning. જાગો છો ને બધા? 12 વાગે. By the blessing of God, now we are out of Corona, so no need to worry. The restrictions are in control and you can leave as per the guidelines of the government of Gujarat. Institute of Defence Studies and Research. I remember the time around 2018 when we first met Major General Channon, who is with us today. Fortunately, we are lucky to have him in this auditorium. Let's have a round of applause for Major General Channon. And Lieutenant General K.J. Dhillon. Frankly speaking, I'm like you people, I don't remember the ranks and cadre in the defense forces, but it's really very important. You reach to certain level where you contribute something. And contribution it's not your wish only. You need to deserve that caliber also. So we are lucky to have these two distinguished personalities on our campus, and they were instrumental in soaking the seeds of defense in this campus. So we owe everything what we do in terms of defense or the security or surveillance or cyber and the mechanism and functions and whatnot. It is only because of these two people's inspiration. So we owe everything to you, sir, and Major General Channon. Coming back to the courses, when we introduced first time this defense-related courses in this campus, so people questioned us that in which capacity you can introduce these courses. And we thought that when Prime Minister Modi says that Atmanirbhar India, what does it mean? It means we need to be self-reliant in each and every sector, either it's a defense, finance, agriculture, cooperation, healthcare. This is the country who was not even producing a bullet. We used to import each and everything out of this country. And you know how things were in action. Let me give you one example. When we coordinated first time with the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we didn't know that there are 30 companies in Gujarat. They are into productions of defense requirements. We try to explore whether there is a possibility to involve with this discipline or what. And then the feedback was so inspiring. So today we are a consortium where we have more than 50 companies on our board, and they all are one or the other way dealing their research and developmental activities with Gujarat University. So future is really very exciting for all of you. Sometimes, we feel that being on the boundaries only means the defense. But strategy is again an important part. Defense finance is really important part. Defense management is again an important part. A big number of individuals are retiring from the services, from every sector. So there will be a big gap in understanding the mechanism. And you can be the, a link between these retiring forces and upcoming forces. Of course, we need to have guidance from the establishment, defense establishments. And fortunately, we have Army and DRDO on our board. They will definitely guide us how to go ahead with these courses, how to make value out of these courses, and how to establish Gujarat University on a defense map of this country. About Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, I can say that when you will listen him, you will come to know that what sort of a personality he is. You know, everybody is aware of Kashmir situation. But when it comes to the delivery part, political wish is something different. But when it comes to the execution, you need that level of mettle within you to deal with that situation. धरती के लाल जो होते हैं ना, जो what they show the performance on soil, but here the performance on battlefield, the topmost matter of our country, who settled Kashmir issue by executing his extraordinary skills to combat with the enemies. I don't want to come in between you and his interaction. Sir, I welcome you on the Gujarat University campus, and we wish you all the good luck, all the very best for your future journey. A person like you never retires. You'll be always there in people's mind, and you are the star for Gujarat University. You'll be always shining gloriously on our space. Thank you so much for coming to Gujarat University campus, and thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to introduce the person who we are eagerly waiting to listen, Lieutenant General Kanwaljit Singh Dhillon, sir, decorated with Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Uttam Yudh Seva Medal, Yudh Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal. He was commissioned in 4 Rajputana rifles in December 1983. He commanded 15 Rajputana rifles. A graduate of Defence Service Staff College, Wellington, he has attended Senior Command Course, Higher Command Course, and prestigious National Defence College Course 53. He has also attended Senior Officers Course at Center for Superior Studies of National Defence in Madrid, Spain, and Senior Executives Course on Transnational Security Cooperation at Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies, Honolulu, Hawaii, USA. The General Officer has served a total of 8 tenures in counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism operational areas, of which 6 in Kashmir Valley and tenure each in Jammu region and Manipur in Northeast. The General Officer has been an instructor at Infantry School, Amhau, and abroad. The General Officer has 4 tenures in Perspective Planning Directorate and tenure in Weapon and Equipment Directorate. He has been a Colonel General, Staff of an Infantry Division on the Western Front and Brigadier General Staff of Operational Active 15 Corps. In addition to normal command and staff assignment, the General Officer commanded Rashtriya Rifles in Kashmir Valley, a rapid division and distinction of commanding elite 15 Corps during the most challenging environment of Pulwama IED blast and abrogation of Article 370 and 35A. The General Officer was Director General Defense Intelligence Agency and Deputy Chief of Integrated Defense Staff Intelligence under the Chief of Defense Staff till he superannuated from service after more than 38 years on 31st January 2022. Now, I would like to welcome Sir to deliver the distinguished speech. Please have a big round of applause. Please.
Professor Himanshu Pandya sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, Dr. Pratik Kanchan, General Ashwini Chanan, the distinguished faculty members, and most importantly, the students. Good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So today, as has been introduced, I would like to speak on Kashmir. And more so, I will give you the background. I'll give you what means what. You must have heard of UN resolutions, you must have heard of referendum, you might have heard of Article 35A, 370 abrogation, why we went to UN, why we shouldn't have gone to UN, and what happened. I'll give you the brass tacks in the language you will understand. Because like it was introduced, I have been in Kashmir. First time I went to Kashmir was in September 1988. And 1989, this terrorism started. So I've seen the initiation of terrorism there. 19th of January 1990, when the Kashmiri Pandits were forced to leave Kashmir Valley, I was a young captain in North Kashmir. I've seen that also. Then enough number of tenures as a captain, major, then again as a major, lieutenant colonel, commanding officer, brigade commander, again as a brigadier, then the corps commander. And why I'm giving all this is so that you understand what you are going to listen is not a fiction. It's a history which I witnessed. On 10th of February 2019, I took over the command of 15 Corps. Just for the initiators, 15 Corps looks after the complete Kashmir Valley counter-terrorism operations in the hinterland and complete line of control against Pakistan on the line of control borders operations, counter-infiltration from the Pakistan side, and as I said earlier, the complete counter-terrorism operations inside the valley. So this was the mandate which I was looking after in 2019 and part of 20. I took over on 10th of February 2019 and 14th February 2019 Pulwama incident happened. And thereafterwards in August, abrogation of 370. So when I talk about Kashmir, I do not want to give the impression that army is the only one doing things there. Army is one part of the overall comprehensive national power which is doing things in Kashmir. As regards security forces, it is the Army, Jammu Kashmir Police, Special Operations Group, CRPF, BSF, intelligence agencies, civil administration. They are a team. And there's a political will, there is the economic support, there's the diplomatic efforts. All these combined together bring Kashmir to what Kashmir is today. So I'll just go over the historical perspective. I laid out my talk in these parts. Now, if you really see, when you talk about Jammu and Kashmir, or when Pakistan does a fake propaganda or a narrative building on Kashmir, I want to tell you what is Kashmir when it is taken in a wholesome of Jammu and Kashmir. This is the state of Jammu and Kashmir as it existed on 15th of August 1947. This was ruled by Maharaja Hari Singh. And if you look at the percentage of area, Kashmir per se is only 7.7% of Jammu and Kashmir. So when Pakistan talks about Kashmir, it forgets to talk about Gilgit-Baltistan, which is under its control and people are in miserable conditions. It forgets to talk about Pakistan occupied Kashmir, where again, Kashmiri language is not spoken. The Punjabis have come and dominated the Kashmiris there. It does not talk about area which has ceded to China called Aksai Chin. That is also part of Jammu and Kashmir. So what I want to bring out is Kashmir is but 7.7% of state of Jammu and Kashmir. There is 92.3% balance of Jammu and Kashmir. So please do not go back home with a premise that Kashmir is Jammu and Kashmir. Now this is the demography. By religious denominations, the valley of Jammu and Kashmir, because more than 3 lakh Kashmiri Pandits were thrown out in 1990s, early 90s. Today's, as per the census of 2011, Kashmir Valley per se is 98% Muslims, 1% Hindu, and 1% Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists. The Jammu region is 66% Hindus, 30% Muslims, and 4% others. Ladakh is Muslims and Buddhists more or less of the same percentage. So this is the demography per se. And when I talk about Article 35A or Article 370, little later, that article is not specific to a religious faith. That article was specific to all subjects of state of Jammu and Kashmir, irrespective of their religious beliefs or leanings. That means a Sikh, a Christian, a Ladakhi, a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Muslim, staying in the state of Jammu and Kashmir were governed by that Article 370 and 35A. So it's again very wrong to make it look like a religious specific article, and if that article is removed, a particular religion has been targeted. So that propaganda also needs to be negated. That these articles were specific to the whole of state of Jammu and Kashmir, and all the residents of who are citizens of Jammu and Kashmir. There is also a catch. The people residing in Jammu and Kashmir, and there are people who are citizens of Jammu and Kashmir. I will be talking about it a little later. Now this is as per 2011 census. The various distributions, ethnic profile, literacy, rural-urban division is more or less as per the national averages. What is most important is the bottom right pie chart, which is age profile. This is 2011. Now, if you look at blue and green part, the 62% population in 2011 was under the age of 30 years. Today, in another 11 years, probably it will have risen to about 66, 67%. That means 2/3 of the population of Jammu and Kashmir is below the age of 30. It translates, they were born after 1989. That is when the terrorism started in Kashmir. Now, why this population is important is 66% of population has taken birth, grown up, crossed their childhood, adolescence, and are now mature people or still youngsters. They have grown up in the gun culture. They have grown up seeing or hearing about people dying in the neighborhood, in their village or around. They have seen the encounters going on live or heard the noises of the blasts and the weapons. This has had an important impact on their psyche. So today when you talk to a person of Jammu and Kashmir, and specifically Kashmir, where the violence has been very high, and who is 30 years or below, 66% of the population, you got to grant that person the psychological impact he has gone through in his complete life. So when he says something, please listen to him carefully. He has an issue. He has grown up in issues. He has lived through issues. So give him a patient hearing, understand his point of view. He has a scar on his psyche. So I wanted to make sure that you understand, don't discard a person's point of view. Listen to him and you will find why he is speaking like that. Give you a small example, like these days operations which are carried out very, very transparent, are very keeping human rights in mind and everything. So we are much better educated now, much better experienced. When in early 90s, we didn't have any experience or any training of counter-terrorism operations. We were only trained, or the defense forces are only trained to fight an enemy and not to handle the counter-terrorist operations within the country. So there was some instances where some excesses would have happened. Now imagine you are a 5-year-old boy and your father has been pulled out of the bus and asked few questions when he could not answer properly and he was slapped in front of you. This is the psych scars I'm talking about. This child has seen his parents either being mistreated by the terrorists or being mistreated by the administration or being mistreated by the security forces. So he has grown up with a feeling of hatred towards the system. So you got to grant that person that much. Now, why the history is important? History is important because state of Jammu and Kashmir is probably the only state in whole of India which signifies or which denotes the idea of India. Bhartiyata ka jo ek sanket hai, that is Jammu and Kashmir. If you look at the religious denominations, Buddhist, Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, Muslims, within Muslim Shia, Sunnis, all live very peacefully in this piece of land. This is the land of rishis. Rishi Kashyap was the originator of the land of Kashmir. It's the land of all religions. Peaceful coexistence was the norm in this part. Now this history is important because when 1947, when India got its independence from the British Empire, every part of India was governed by small little states. Some were directly under the Viceroy, and some were under the, can I have a glass of water? And some were under the rule of the kings and the princes. And subsequently, after 15th of August 1947, those were directly being governed by the Viceroy. They became the Union of India straight away. All those states which were being governed by the kings or the rulers, they were given the option of either joining with India or Pakistan. So states accordingly made their choice, and then the instrument of accession was signed by the then ruler to become part of Union of India. So similarly, when Maharaja Hari Singh was the ruler, he was also given the choice of either joining India or joining Pakistan. He wanted some time to think about it. So there is something called Standstill Agreement. That time was given to him. Okay, you make up your mind, you think about it, and then you decide. Now, Pakistan was in a hurry. All this was going on under a very, very peaceful manner. Pakistan sent in the raiders, as they are called Razakars in that part of the country, raiders under the Pakistan army. They entered Kashmir Valley, they butchered people there, they carried out rapes and other things. They plundered Baramulla per se, and they were on the outskirts of Srinagar. Pakistan wanted to take over Kashmir forcefully. India or Indian army did not interfere because Maharaja had signed a standstill agreement, and India as a newly born country honored that agreement. It is only on a particular date, which I'll come to. Now this is how, which I just talked about, certain states were directly under the Viceroy, certain were under the kings. So they decided, and this is the standstill agreement. You must understand these dates. 12th August, the standstill agreement came into being. 14th of August, Pakistan came into being. That means Pakistan's creation is later than this agreement was signed. So this agreement has a precedence over creation of Pakistan or the new state of Pakistan. Now this is on 26th of October, when Pakistani raiders were on the outskirts of Srinagar, Maharaja signed this agreement. And this is the same agreement which is for all other states who signed this. In fact, if you see the original agreement, the date printed is August 1947 because all other states signed it in August 1947. It was scored out and made October because this state signed it in October 1947. Now when this agreement was signed, then he officially acceded to Union of India. That is when Indian army landed in Srinagar and pushed back the Pakistan army and the Pakistan raiders. It pushed back those people to a particular line beyond which, because of certain river or mountains, because winters were coming in, it was difficult to sustain ourselves across that river called Kishanganga or across those mountains during the winters. So that is where a sort of ceasefire came into being. So that line, which I showed you initially, some portion remained with Pakistan, including Gilgit-Baltistan. So that line became a ceasefire line, subsequently called as line of control. Like today we call it line of control. So some portion of Jammu and Kashmir, which otherwise officially is part of Union of India, continues to be under the control of Pakistan even today. Now, there is a lot of talk that why did we go to the United Nations to resolve this issue? United Nations mandate or charter is there, which has 3 steps. Now you must understand, at that time, India had got independence recently. United Nations had come into existence after the Second World War, which was one bloody war, wherein a lot of blood had been spilled, a lot of people had died. The young boys had died in that war. Young boys as young as 15 years were taken to the war front compulsorily, and most of them got killed there. So after that, United Nations came into being, and the idea was that all the issues between two countries will be resolved peacefully, and war should be avoided at all costs. That's a different issue. United Nations has not been able to live up to that mandate. So when India went to United Nations to resolve the issue of Kashmir, it was with this premise that United Nations is the world body which is supposed to resolve issues peacefully and avoid wars. So at that time, it probably was a way of saying, okay, we will try it out. So India went as a responsible state. We went to the United Nations, and United Nations resolution is here. You would hear a lot of TV debates, a lot of Pakistani propaganda that United Nations resolution says there should be referendum in Kashmir. India is not allowing the referendum. Yes, United Nations resolution does say there should be a referendum in Kashmir. And the resolution that referendum has not happened. Yes. But United Nations resolution is in 3 parts. And those 3 parts, A, B, C, are sequential in nature. And compulsorily the part B will start if the part A has been implemented. So I'll explain to you what are these 3 terms. The first and foremost, this is the photostat of the United Nations resolution. The first part says the government of Pakistan should undertake, that is, to secure the withdrawal from the state of Jammu and Kashmir of tribesmen, that is Razakars or the tribals, and Pakistan nationals who are not normally resident of Kashmir, and stop furnishing any material aid to those fighting in the state. That means part 1 was government of Pakistan will make sure its army, its raiders, they will withdraw from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, who are not normally the citizens of Jammu and Kashmir, and it will not support or aid any terrorist activity in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. This is part 1. Now, part 1 Pakistan has not implemented. It has not withdrawn its forces from Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and it is still supporting the terrorism in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if this was implemented in totality, then secondly, then the government of India should, when it is established to the satisfaction of the commission set up in accordance with so that the tribesmen are withdrawing and that arrangement for the secession fighting, that means when the commission which would be established, it is satisfied that part 1 has been implemented. All those tribesmen and Pakistanis have withdrawn from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, including today's Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Then India will reduce them progressively to the minimum strength required to support the civil power to maintain law and order. Then Indian forces will withdraw, but leave behind the minimum portion. I'm taking time because I want you to understand this. Then India will withdraw forces, but leave behind minimum forces to maintain law and order. Once that is done, then the referendum will happen, plebiscite. So if someone is telling you that UN resolution says there should be plebiscite in Kashmir and India is not allowing it, he is wrong. UN resolution says part 1, Pakistan should withdraw everyone from soil of J&K. Pakistan should stop supporting terrorism. Then India will withdraw, leaving behind the minimum forces for law and order. Then the plebiscite will happen. So that's why I took time to explain to this. This narrative is very often spoken by Pakistan sponsored. Even the people who are within India, they speak this language of Pakistan. So if you come across anyone like this, you show him this book and tell him there are 3 conditions. 3rd is plebiscite. First is Pakistan has to do all those things. And they are all sequential. And first issue itself has not been addressed so far. I don't have to go through this. Not only in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan has been carrying out terrorist attacks, including the city which we are standing today, Akshardham temple attack. The whole of nation has witnessed all that what has happened in India because Pakistan continues to support terrorism. Now this is 22,827 terrorists till January. And initially there were Pakistanis, Afghanis, Nigerians, Sudanese, Even today, maximum terrorists which are killed are of Pakistan origin, who are foreigners. Now I'll come to the second part. I'm leaving more time for the question answer. You can ask questions and things, so that you must understand what are these things. Now, what is Article 370? Article 370, a lot of people say it's an enabling provision. It's an empowering provision. What it actually means is the Constitution of India, all the articles of Constitution of India will not be applicable in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And most important is it is written there. This provision or this article is temporary and transitional. It was put into the Constitution after J&K had acceded to India. It is not a condition in the instrument of accession. This was not a prerequisite put by Maharaja before he joined India. This came into existence after J&K became part of India. So this article was temporary and transitional. Now, what is this article? This article, in a layman's term, says whatever is in the Constitution of India is not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir has its own constitution called Ranbir Penal Code. 106 amendments have happened to Indian Constitution ever since this article has come into being. Those 106 amendments were not applicable in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. I'll give you an example of 2-3. One very empowering amendment in the Constitution is Right to Information Act. That means you can put in a 10 rupees draft or something and ask for any information from the government office as to this building is coming up, who is the contractor, what is the contract rate, what is the payment schedule, how much payment has been made, who are the testing facilities, and all those things. But since this amendment came into being after this act was introduced, this was not applicable in Jammu and Kashmir. That means you could not ask any information from the government which is of public interest. Some of you might know this. There was a practice in India where human excreta used to be lifted by another human and carried to a place where he would dump the waste, carried on the head. Now this practice is inhuman practice, where you are taking away on your head someone else's excreta. Scavenging is the term. So this Scavenging Act was introduced in the Constitution, where no human can be forced or made to carry other humans' excreta on his head, his or her head. So the dignity of the humankind was restored in the Indian Constitution, but this act did not get passed on to Jammu and Kashmir, because Article 370 did not allow any amendment of Indian Constitution to be implemented in Jammu and Kashmir. So there are 106 such amendments which have happened, all for the good of the country and the countrymen, but they did not get passed on. Not only that, Article 370, it gives no special status, but it gives special discrimination. So this act of Article 370 was abrogated on 5th of August 2019 by an act of parliament. Probably the slide will come later. Here again, there is a lot of propaganda which says this was illegally removed. This has hurt the sentiments of a particular community. No, this act was applicable to all the subjects, all the residents, all the citizens of Jammu and Kashmir, irrespective of their religious faith. So this act was applicable to everyone. Similarly, 35A, I will come to that a little later. So there was a parliamentary discussion, there was a parliamentary vote, the president's assent was given, and this act was broken. So this type of amendments are legal in the democracy and the constitution, and similar amendments have happened in the past. Now, what is Article 35A? This Article 35A is a very interesting article. This defines who would be the citizen or subject of Jammu and Kashmir. Like by domicile, you are citizens of Gujarat or whichever state you come from, and this decides who will be the citizen of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if you shift your resident from Gujarat to, say, Madhya Pradesh, you go and get a voter ID card made there, you get whatever. So you become a domicile of that state. Now, this article decides who will be, and your son or daughter, when they get married, they automatically become the citizens. Your daughter may marry anyone, maybe from Kashmir or from Himachal or from Tamil Nadu or for that matter from a European country. She continues to be the domicile of this state and this country till she decides to take citizenship of another country. Whereas what was 35A? 35A decided who is the permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir. It violates the rights of women. Why? If I am a resident of Jammu and Kashmir, irrespective of my religious faith, I may be a Muslim, I may be Hindu, I may be a Sikh, I may be a Christian, I'm a Buddhist. I have a son and a daughter. If my son marries a girl from Africa or Europe or America or Tamil Nadu, he continues to enjoy the inheritance rights of the property which I own. That means he does not lose his permanent resident of J&K status. And he will inherit my property. But if my daughter marries anyone outside J&K, maybe from Punjab or Madhya Pradesh or you can say Asia or Russia or wherever, she loses her citizenship of Jammu and Kashmir. She loses her property right of the father, inherited property. This is Article 35A. Article 35A was discriminatory against the women. Same conditions when the son marries outside the state, he does not lose his property or inheritance rights. But if the daughter marries outside, she loses her property and inheritance rights. It violated fundamental rights of SC and ST because a lot of things had come in the Indian Constitution which were giving special status, special reservations to the SC and ST citizens, which did not get transferred to state of Jammu and Kashmir. Denied admission to children of non-state subject. Now, anyone who is a non-state subject cannot take admission in Jammu and Kashmir in a government school or a government college. Unlike every other part, like in Gujarat University, a student from Jammu and Kashmir can come and take admission as per the laws. But no one from Gujarat can go and take admission there. So you have to be a state subject. I must tell you a very interesting thing probably. Yeah. West Pakistan refugees were not given state citizenship for 73 years. West Pakistan refugees, what is West Pakistan? Like my family came from today's Pakistan. When they came from Pakistan to India, moment they, on 15th of August, when they came this side, we were citizens of India on day one. Whichever state we settled, we were domicile of that state. We are given the property equivalent to our property in Pakistan. We are given a house equivalent to a house in Pakistan. And we started enjoying all the facilities of citizenship of India. But all those people who shifted to Jammu and Kashmir from today's Pakistan, they did not enjoy the citizenship rights till 5th of August 2019. They were not given the state subject rights. They became the Indian citizens because the Indian government allowed them or gave them the citizenship. They will vote for the parliamentary elections because they're Indian citizens, but they could not vote for the state elections or the panchayat elections or Jila Parishad elections because they were not subjects of Jammu and Kashmir because of 35A. They're staying there. They're working there. They're contributing to the economy of Jammu and Kashmir. But they are not given the franchisee rights or the electoral rights or any right which is available to the subject of that state. So how could it be empowering? It was a discriminatory act. Industrial sector suffered because you could not, non-state subjects could not establish any industry there. And you must understand the linkages. 1989-90, this trouble started. 1990 is when India opened up to the world economy. Last 30 years have been the golden era for economic development in the country. But those 30 years were the dark era for the state of Jammu and Kashmir because of Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. They coincided. As a result, our family, each one of us can have a look at it, our family, what it was in economic terms in 1990. and what it is today. If my family in 1990 owned only one scooter and 2 cycles, today my family owns 5 cars. That has been the progress in last 30 years. And that's the story of every household. In Jammu and Kashmir in 1990, if a family owned a scooter and 2 cycles, today they own only 1 cycle. Because terrorism has broken the bone of development. It has, you open your shop at 11, you close at 4 because you have to get back home by 5. Half the time, the tourists don't come because there's some bomb blast here, some killing there. It's an agrarian society based on agriculture produce, mainly fruits, and a tourism industry. So this is where these 2 articles played havoc with the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Now these people voted for the first time in the District Development Council election which held in 2020. Now I have covered most of the points, you can go through it. And this is what was 370 and 35A. And after its abrogation, now any state subject to Jammu and Kashmir enjoys all the constitutional amendments, oblique constitutional acts, which are applicable to any other citizen of India. And the daughters have started getting their rights of inheritance, irrespective of whom they marry. Now, again, there is a lot of propaganda against division of Jammu and Kashmir into UT of J&K and unitarity of Ladakh. That this has been done with the paupers and Kashmiris have been harmed and this and that. Again, this is not religious specific. It's a boundary or area specific. And this division of state has not happened for the first time in Indian Constitution. 12 earlier occasions, states have been bifurcated or trifurcated. Punjab was trifurcated into Punjab, Haryana, Himachal. Bihar got bifurcated into Bihar and Jharkhand. Chhattisgarh came out. And there are similar 12 times in the history it has happened. So again, it is not the first time it has happened, and it's not the first time that somebody will say something illegal has been done to me. Why I'm bringing all this is because you are the young generation, you are the future of this country, you participate in very knowledgeable discussions, you discuss with your peers, you are on social media, you talk to people, you engage with people, you argue with people. Unless you argue with solid proof and solid background, solid knowledge, probably your argument will fall flat on the 3rd or the 4th attempt. So that is the reason I'm telling you in a very, very simplistic terms, all these propaganda issues, why they do not stand on solid ground. And this bifurcation which has happened, those of you who have visited Ladakh or Kashmir, you would know there is great Himalayas dividing the two. And there is only one pass called Zojila Pass, which connects Ladakh and Kashmir. The Zojila Pass used to remain closed for 8 months because of snow, earlier days. And nowadays, because of better equipment and better other things, it remains closed only for 4 or 5 months. But that also means for 4 to 5 months, a common person cannot go to his secretariat, cannot go to his capital, cannot go to his administrative office. If he has to go to the administrative office, how many of them can afford an air ticket? And Leh airport, the only airport in Ladakh, also remains closed for some time during winters and weather conditions. A common citizen of Ladakh, if he had to come to his state capital, that is Srinagar, or Jammu in winters, he has to pay through his nose. So it was administrative requirement of people of Ladakh, again irrespective of religious faith, that they have the state capital within their own area where they can approach it 12 months, 24/7, 365 days. So that was the administrative reason for this bifurcation. Now, why is Pakistan peddling fake lies? Any nation has 4 major barometers to gauge its standing in the world. In any order, diplomacy. How strong are you diplomatically? How powerful is your diplomatic appeal in the world community? On that, you can all judge Pakistan. Even the Islamic world supports India when it comes to India versus Pakistan. So the diplomatic standing of Pakistan is clear from there. Second is the Economic Barometer. Pakistan today is under tremendous debt and loans. Its economy is failing. If you see the clips of Pakistan TV, the gas prices have gone to 2,000 rupees. The petrol and all, I don't know where they are touching. It is in bad state. Imagine the Prime Minister of a country saying कि एक time की रोटी खानी बंद कर दो. Now you can imagine what the state must be. So leave out the economic part. You can Google it. Then is the political part. Third barometer is political barometer. How stable is the politics of the country? How many times have you seen in India a political party losing an election and refusing to vacate? Or saying, no, I am not accepting the mandate of people. Very gracefully, the Chief Minister, the Prime Minister walks to the Governor House or the President House, submits the resignation, compliments the new person, he is sworn in, and the democracy is the way it works. We are the biggest democracy of the world. We have never had an incident where the military had to intervene. Pakistan's history, the politics, half the time the military has run the country officially. Other half they have run it unofficially. So, political also the barometer is down. Then comes the military barometer. How strong is the country militarily also decides what is the standing of that nation. We all know what happened in 47, 48. We all know what happened in 1971, Bangladesh. The biggest surrender in the history of military warfare after Second World War. 93,000 well-equipped soldiers surrendered their arms and equipment. We have heard 20-odd people getting surrounded by 100 people or 1,000 people and they're surrendering. 93,000 people surrendered. And they have not been able to achieve anything militarily. So all these four barometers are down. So how do they generate or excite their countrymen? The only way is Kashmir card. When you have tremendous fault lines within the country, may it be Balochistan, may it be Shia Sunni, may it be the Fatah region, the Punjabis are just handful of people in Pakistan. They control the complete Pakistan. Balochistan is the biggest territory and they have hardly any say in the running of Pakistan. So Pakistan army makes sure they remain in the limelight, and the only way to remain in limelight is to keep telling the people Kashmir has to be taken back. And they peddle all these fake lies which I just told you the truth about the whole thing. Pakistan is the most dangerous country in the world. Like today morning's news, the US bank has put $35 million fine on Pakistan for bad payments and money laundering. Because Mr. Imran Khan happened to be in Russia when Russia attacked Ukraine. And he said, I'm here, very exciting. So, current status, again, a lot of propaganda on this, 600 days of lockdown and this down and that down. Everything, initially, what happened was the 4G was banned because we did not want the videos, propaganda videos to be downloaded and circulated. 2G and the landline always continued because landline we can trace which house has done this. No student ever failed to upload his application or his amount in the university. Nobody could say that I did not upload my hotel reservation. Nobody should say that I could not upload my tender. All those were allowed on 2G. Plus, the internet kiosks were opened in the district office, the tehsil offices, the railway station, the airport, even in the army cantonments. So that wo rozmarra ke jo kaam hai wo chalte rahe. But the propaganda is internet was not allowed. Then is lockdown. Those of you understand, there is a provision called CRPC 144, Dafa 144, that says that more than 4 people cannot congregate at one place. Up to 4 you can go. Out of 118 police station jurisdictions in Jammu and Kashmir, only 4 police stations, which are very sensitive, where a lot of public property was there only CRPC 144 was established. Rest 114 police station, nothing was there. You could move around freely. And in those 4 also, the mother could walk to the grocery shop, pick up the bread, pick up the eggs, pick up the milk for the child, take the child to the bus stand, put him in the bus, go to school, come back, if she is less than 4 people. But as the norm is, even if you are more than 4 and you're not creating any trouble, generally the policeman will not say anything. But propaganda is Kashmir was under lockdown. No, it was never under lockdown. All these people going to Hajj and all, I personally have gone to Hajj, I've personally gone to Mata Khirbani temple, I've personally gone to Amarnath Yatra. There's so many times, there's so much happening there. I must tell you a small anecdote. Chief editor of a very leading newspaper came to Kashmir and he wanted to talk with me for some time. And I said, okay. So a time was given to him. His flight was landing at some time. He tied up with my staff. Suppose he was coming to my office at 11. He landed up at 10:30. So my staff told me, sir, the gentleman is here. I said, okay, send him in, we'll talk. So imagine he's a chief editor of a newspaper and he told me he writes an article on Kashmir every fortnight. And he says, I said, sir, I'm sorry, I came a little early. And I said, no problem, I'm in the office only. He said, actually, I underestimated the travel time from airport to your office. And I said, how? He says, I thought it will take about 45 minutes because somebody will stop me, somebody will check me, there will be barricades, there will be layers of barricades and police deployment and army deployment. And he said, there's nothing. I came in 15 minutes. I said, yes, that's the time it takes. So he said, then where is the lockdown? I said, I don't know, you people coined that term. And imagine this gentleman then tells me, he says, I have come to the Kashmir for the first time. I said, okay. But sir, I write an article every fortnight on Kashmir in my newspaper. Now, their non-resident Kashmiris writing on Kashmir. So these are the people who have created a narrative. Imagine an editor of a newspaper trying to tell me that there is a lockdown in Kashmir. That's why he calculated a particular amount of time to travel without having visited Kashmir ever in his life. And the other people, the newspapers are circulated and he is writing articles without having visited Kashmir. Now, there are a lot of overall situation is quite good, and a lot of people are visiting Kashmir, and all these things are on the internet. All these things which have flashed in front of you have been picked up from the announcement of the government on the floor of the parliament. So these are there in the websites of all the government ministries. Let's see this. In one state, there will be 11 airports. There are 2 AIMS, 2 IITs, 2 IIMs, degree colleges, women university. Now, this is the need of the hour. Here was an article which discriminated against has been written by the mother to him and has been received by him, or the letter he has written but has not been able to send it across to the mother. So this, when I was a captain, I realized this. I'm talking 89, 90 now. And I said, this is the type of connect test I had. And every time we used to intercept their communication. Those days there used to be handheld radio sets, something like what the police uses on the website. And they used to communicate to someone and say, Ammi jaan ko ye bata dena, Ammi ko wo bol dena, Ammi ko मेरी तरफ से ऐसे कर देना. So 30% of the conversation used to revolve around the mother. So this is what was in my mind always. That mother has a very important aspect. And if some Kashmiri would come to you and sit with you, a young boy is going out and say, late to me, मैं मम्मी को बता के आया था. Now this is some few things which kept clicking in my mind. So when I took over, please tell your children, don't go out and pick up a weapon. Then I also gave them the statistics. A local terrorist who picks up a weapon, 7% of them die within first 10 days. This is a 1.5 years statistics. Within 10 days, 7% get eliminated. Within first 1 month, including the 7%, 9% get eliminated. 3 months, 17%, 6 months, 36%, and in 1 year, 63 to 64% get eliminated. Now that means if you pick up a weapon, chances are within first year, 2/3, 66% chances is you will be killed. And another statistic is anyone who has become a terrorist, 83% of them were stone pelters, recorded stone pelters. Stone pelting is an industry there. They send out the children and they get 500 rupees, go and throw the stones at the army or the CRPF. Now, if you are sending a child out today for stone pelting, for 500 rupees, chances are he is going to become terrorist, 83%, and 64% chances are he is going to get killed in the first 1 year. So I appeal this to the mothers, all the mothers, and we had a very concerted effort for all the security forces, army, police, CRPF, IB, civil administration, and we called it Operation Ma. And I never used the word surrender, I always used to use the word return. The child should return. So more than 50 boys returned under this Operation Ma. And the last line which Dr. Navneet said, I qualified this statement. I said, please tell your child to get back, or anyone who picks up a weapon will be eliminated. You pick up a gun, you are dead. So this was the whole thing which got very important, very good, that became very social media viral thing, Operation Ma. Yeah, thank you. Do we have another question, please?
As you have mentioned, gun culture in Kashmir, right? When we look at your service tenure, we have found that you have started several welfare programs like Operation Ma, then Crpc campaign. So I want to know that how much confident you are behind this program that this will convert them and connect to the mainstream.
Okay, the question is, in addition to Operation Ma, there are certain other programs which were started. One of them was Talim Se Taraqi. That means if you get educated, you will progress. Under this scheme, I will give you 2-3 incidents. There is a program called Army Goodwill Schools. Army runs 28 Goodwill schools within Kashmir. It's not that Army is running it. Army only runs it, finances it, and it houses it in an Army area. All the teachers are local Kashmiris. All the students are local Kashmiri children, boys and girls. Teachers are, faculty is also ladies and male. 28 Army Goodwill schools, approximately 1,000 students at any one time, so 10,000 students, and the number of students who have passed out in the last 20-25 years. We did a check, not a single student of Army Goodwill School has picked up a gun till date. The students come from the same society. They come from the same neighborhood. So what does it say? It says if you had a good education, you had an education, I'm sitting in education institution, so it's all the more important.
you are getting educated in a school or a college or a university where you have a future. So you will not waver. You will not think of anything else. But if you are getting educated in some other scheme and you know there is no future after this, and then definitely you will do something to earn livelihood. So Talim se Tarakki was a progress on that. But then when we realize, okay, army government school students are not taking up a weapon, but we are not tracing them after 12th. How are they doing academically? How are they getting some job or not? Then we started another concept, which was a pick up from a thing which happened in Bihar, I think, Super 30, Super 50. Now what we did was we picked up a batch of 30 students of medical, 30 students of 50 of medical, 30 of engineering. We gave them 1 year boarding, lodging, clothing, education, stationery, housing, everything free for 1 year, and make them appear in competitive exams. 28 out of 30 got admission in top-notch colleges. And when I say 28 or 30, they got in the top-notch, which we aspire for, IITs and other things. Other two got into the state level good colleges and all. So this again was carrying on. We went a step further. We went back to the students who had got admission in these IITs and IIMs and checked their placements after they finished. And again, we were very, very, you can say, happily surprised. They had got the best placements. So we gave this example. I used to tell these things on my fingertips even after 3 years, because I used to tell them to every parent, every mother, every gathering, every sarpanch, every household. Because Talim se Tarakki is not only of himself. When a child gets educated, especially the girl child, when the girl child gets educated, a family gets educated. She is the mother of tomorrow. Her children will get educated. So it's very important, especially in a very close society, to make sure the girls get educated. They get good education, good schooling, good college, good placement. That is how the tarakki is not of the individual, tarakki is of the locality, the mohalla, the village, the family, the state, the country. So this was another aspect of Talim se Tarakki. Plus we had some other scheme like Khariyat Patrol and other, which we can talk later. Yeah, thank you. Next one. Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to ask that before 5 August 2019, is Kashmir was a real part of India, and what was the feedback after 2019 of people of Kashmir? What was the feedback and what freedom they enjoy? Because on ground, we are seeing on television, on sitting on Zoom and we are watching. But what was the real feedback from the people of Kashmir?
Okay, thank you. The question, if you have not heard, is before 5th of August 2019, was Kashmir really the part of India? And what freedom people enjoyed before and later? Let me tell you, in any conflict zone, any zone where there is a conflict and there is a public involved, there are 5% people who are against the government. There are 5 to 7 to 10% people who are pro the government. And there are 85 to 90%, which is a silent majority. And when I say silent majority, that doesn't mean they are against or they are pro, definitely. They are those people जिनको अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी रोटी कपड़ा मकान से मतलब है, नौकरी है करके का शाम को घर वापस आना, बच्चों के साथ बैठ के खाना खाना, अच्छी तालीम मिल रही है, हॉस्पिटल है, अपना लाइफ ठीक चल रही है. So the silent majority will exercise their franchising, very important when asked to. So till 5th of August 2019, the silent majority was never addressed, because they were never even asked whether you are happy or not happy. It was told by some leaders, some families, that Kashmir खुश नहीं है, Kashmiri खुश नहीं है. Now since the silent majority is silent, in one of the talks I even questioned this, why this silent majority is silent? And why do these people come up during elections to say कि मेरे को वोट दो? Why did they not speak at that time? Why are they speaking now? So the silent majority was silent because they did not have a say. After 5th of August 2019, everyone has a say. 51% people participating in district level elections. When I was a brigadier in some villages, 98% polling happened, 98%. I don't know whom they voted for. But the fact is they spoke. They used their franchise. So when more and more development will happen, which I flashed, more job opportunities will come, more education facilities will come up, then this silent majority will start saying, I'm okay, I'm happy. So within this silent majority, if 70-20 is the partition now, it might become 80-10, it might become 85-5. When the job is created, when education is given, when life is made good, there is no reason to be unhappy. And one very good thing which happened in Kashmir was this bus service which started between Muzaffarabad and Srinagar. Something which has also started between Delhi and Lahore, or Amritsar and Lahore. This bus service is basically you can go across and come back after 10 days, 15 days. Now people who have gone across and come back, they are the biggest sympathizers, supporters of India. वो जो वहां पे गुर्बत देख के आए हैं, गरीबी देख के आए हैं, और जहां पे वो कश्मीरी की सप्रेशन देख कर आए हैं. The way Punjabis are suppressing the Kashmiris in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. By the way, in Kashmir, every Kashmiri speaks Kashmiri. It is taught in schools. In Pakistan occupied Kashmir, there is hardly anyone below the age of 30 who can speak Kashmiri. They speak very fluent Punjabi. Here, the Kashmiris who are settled in Delhi or USA, they also speak Kashmiri because they take pride in the mother tongue. So this people will become happy by and by when this infrastructure development and the education facilities will come up, job creation will happen. So they love pizzas, they love, we used to send people, teachers from there, students from there, Maulvis from there, to universities like MIT and other places, even Bombay, I should send them to Film City. Imagine these girls will come back and say, sir, वहां पर देख के हैरान, मॉल में जाएंगे तो they were surprised that this exists in India. Whereas this does not exist in Kashmir because nobody was allowed to come and invest there because of 35A. Domino's, Pizza Huts could not operate there because of 35A. Movie halls were not being allowed to run because of terrorist risk. But it is improving now. I won't say 100% people will be happy, yes, but as we have more and more progress, things will improve. Thank you. Yes, economic corridor aa raha hai, plus religious tourism is increasing. A lot is happening. I can go on. If you go on all these that I've shown, if you just click on them in the Google, you will see what all is there under them.
Sir, I have one question for you. Sir, by respecting your integrity towards your profession, if you can share them, we would love to know one of your most challenging experience during your service tenure.
The most challenging experience during?
Your service tenure.
Okay. Army is not a job. If I can use a Hindi word, ये मोहब्बत है. तो मोहब्बत में चैलेंज नहीं होते, कभी अफसाने होती नहीं कभी. Okay, I think most challenging one was again abrogation of Article 373, 35A. When I was a captain, if there was a challenge, there was a commanding officer above me, there was a brigade commander above me. You know, when I was a commanding officer, there was a general officer above me. So I was probably not directly answerable or responsible or accountable. But when 370 abrogation happened in Kashmir, at least I was the top man. And I was the only person who was answerable or who was to be held accountable if things go wrong. And things could have gone wrong. There were apprehensions like mutiny ho jayegi. There will be a revolt in Jammu and Kashmir police. There will be agjani. There will be, tabahi ho jayegi. Statements were made that tirange ko kanda dene wala koi nahi hoga. So those were the challenges. So when 370 happened, we had two aims, which we gave to ourselves as security forces. One was, under no circumstances, it should happen that, okay, we are not able to implement it. writ of the government of India will be implemented on each and every square inch of Indian territory. So that was the first thing, it will be implemented. Second was, there should be no civilian killing, there should be no unrest, there should be no aagjani ki ghatnaएं and other things, and there should be no stone pelting, there should be no burning of government offices, there should be no burning of buses and trucks. So that was the second challenge, to maintain law and order. And I can tell you with lot of pride, not a single civilian got killed by security forces bullets after 5th of August. Not a single incident of arson or looting or patharmari and stone pelting or anything. So those 4 months were the most peaceful 4 months in the history of Jammu and Kashmir since 1989 when this terrorism started. All indicators, terrorist initiated incidents, civilians killing by the terrorists, civilians killing by the security forces bullets, the collateral damage, the stone pelting, the recruitment into a local terrorist organization by young Kashmiris, all the indicators came down. I had that slide, but because I wanted to keep it crisp, I reviewed that. All the indicators came down. The local recruitment came down from 189 to 73 in the same period. So this is how everything came down, and now the things will start improving, your infrastructure will improve, probably these indicators will come. But yes, most challenging was Article 370, because that is where I had bet my honor and my respect कि सर इसको नहीं होने देंगे कुछ भी. It's very easy to say later कि हमने कुछ नहीं होने दिया, but to say beforehand कि नहीं होने देंगे was a challenge. And in fact, I told my chief, General Rawat, that time, I told my chief, सर ये बोल दिया. तो इसे don't worry, ठीक है. वो शोले के डायलॉग नहीं था, बोल दिया तो बोल दिया. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
नमस्कार सर.
नमस्कार.
तो पाकिस्तान ने हमारे पास से पीओ के पढ़ा लिया है, तो हम वापिस क्यों नहीं ले पाते और अभी तक हम क्यों धीरज धर के बैठे हैं, वो हमारी समझ में नहीं आता. आप कुछ बताएं.
देखिए, नमस्कार. सबसे पहले हर काम का एक वक्त होता है.
क्या बात.
370 के जाने का वक्त आ गया था, वो गया. पाकिस्तान के पीओ के आने का वक्त आएगा, वो आ जाएगा.
I think we'd like to add that the execution deed that you read, it also says Jammu, Kashmir, Naresh, Tibet, Adi, Desh, Adhipati. So Hari Singh also was the king of Tibet. So I think maybe the time would come for that also at some point of time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we'll to conclude the Q&A session.
एक इंसिडेंट था जो जीयू के साथ हुआ था, आपसे शेयर करना चाहता हूँ, आपको भी बताना चाहता हूँ. 2 साल पहले यहाँ पे 200 कश्मीरी बच्चे आए. आई डोंट नो, आर्मी ने भेजे होंगे पूरे गुजरात का दौरा करने के लिए, बिकॉज गुजरात इज कंसिडर्ड द मोस्ट प्रोग्रेसिव स्टेट इन द country. So they came here to see the establishment, to experience the happenings and how the governance is working and how this progress is being made. उसी श्रृंखला में they came to गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी कैंपस. इसी हॉल में वो 200 बच्चे यहाँ पे बैठे थे. They took a ride to the whole campus, पूरा कैंपस देखा क्या क्या हो रहा है, कितने कोर्सेज चल रही है सब. Then we started interviewing them. एक के बाद एक लोगों को यहाँ पे बोलने का मौका दिया. तो वो 200 में से कुछ 10 लोगों ने अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करना शुरू किया. बीइंग द हेड ऑफ द फैमिली, और हमको लगता है कि हमने बहुत पढ़ाई की है, हमारे इतने सारे रिसर्च पेपर है, इतना कोऑर्डिनेशन है, इतना नेटवर्किंग है. When they first started talking about India, तो उन्होंने बोलना शुरू किया कि हम भी चाहते हैं कि हमारे यहाँ भी हिंदुस्तान की जैसे तरक्की हो, हम भी चाहते हैं कि हम भी इतनी अच्छी पढ़ाई करें जैसे हिंदुस्तान की इंस्टीट्यूट में होती है. मैं यहाँ पे बैठा था, मैंने सोचा कि आप हिंदुस्तान के ही हो, तो आप ऐसा क्यों बोलते हो कि हम भी चाहते हैं कि हमारे यहाँ हिंदुस्तान जैसी तरक्की हो? सो विच सपोर्ट द स्टेटमेंट व्हाट सर मेंशन कि 80% से ज्यादा लोग तब पैदा हुए हैं जब वहां मिलिटेंसी पीक पे थी। तो उनको यही पढ़ाया गया है, वही समझाया गया है कि आप यहाँ के नहीं हो, और नहीं हो ये एक समझ की वजह से उन लोगों ने कितना सारा खोया है। तो मुझे लगता है कि when he says कि we need to have all the sympathy, empathy towards the कश्मीरी यूथ, तो वो कभी भी आप ट्रेन में कहीं मिल जाओ, रेस्टोरेंट में मिल जाओ, कहीं सिटी में मिल जाओ, कहीं टूरिज्म स्पॉट पे मिल जाओ, या आप विजिट करो कश्मीर, सो प्लीज बी केयरफुल व्हेनेवर यू आर इंटरेक्टिंग विद द कश्मीरीज कि उनके जो पुराने जख्म है वो फिर से नहीं खुल जाए। क्योंकि एक कहते हैं मीरा फजली का शेर है कि जिन चिरागों को हवाओं का कोई खौफ नहीं, उन चिरागों को हवाओं से बचाया जाए।
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, now with your permission, if you have any concluding remark, we would like to conclude the event.
Generally, after the Honorable Vice Chancellor spoken, I should not be speaking, but since he spoke about education in Kashmir, I just want to tell you something. Kashmiri is a very intellectual person. Kashmiri एक इंतहा ही intellectual इंसान है. He is an artisan. He is a painter. He is a writer. वो शायर है. He is a craftsman. वो लकड़ी में से भगवान की मूर्ति निकालता है. वो किशिदाकारी करता है. वो एम्ब्रॉयडरी करता है. Paper mache. You go to Kashmir, Katex. You go to Kashmir, you will find the way Kashmiri people are such fine artists. He is very aware. He will speak to you on any subject. Now when this talim comes in, good talim, then you will see Kashmir changing. It is just that, and I must tell you one incident. When the 89, when the terrorism started, what did they target the first thing? There used to be wooden schools, that is wooden buildings, those days in Kashmir. Pine की लकड़ी की building होती थी. Pine की लकड़ी can retain the oil in it for 100 years. So when the pine wood burns, it burns like a furnace. They burnt all the schools down. Second thing which happened to Kashmir's education society was, Kashmiri Pandits were the mainstay of Kashmiri education. Kashmiri Pandits were the primary teachers, they were the middle school teachers, they were the university professors, deans, the vice chancellors. When Kashmiri Pandits left, Kashmiriyat का ना एक हिस्सा निकल गया. Kashmiri education निकल गई कश्मीर से. Since the dependence on Kashmiri Pandit community was so much in education sector, that it took years and years to get it back. Even today, the Kashmiri Pandit's absence is being felt. So this is what happened. Kashmiri schools were burned down. Kashmiri teachers who were basically Pandits, they left, and Kashmiri education suffered. So once that gets revived, Kashmir will be a beautiful society. And Kashmiriyat में आपको एक और चीज बताऊं. Kashmiriyat is a respect for each other. Most of you may not know, कश्मीर में गाय का मांस और pork बिकता नहीं है. As a mark of respect for each other's community. And it is still there. So these are small things which people outside don't know. There are certain rules also for this, but all said and done, today's person is by willingly not doing these things. कश्मीर में कभी हिंदू मुस्लिम राइट्स नहीं हुए थे. That Kashmiri Pandits actually which happened, it happened because of Pakistani terrorists. But the silent majority didn't speak. That's a separate issue. Thank you. On the lighter, सवाल था कि जब आप किसी मिशन पे होते हो तो पर्सनल हर्डल्स का सामना करना पड़ता है तो कैसे करते हो?
हाँ जी, मैं इसका लाइट नोट में, मैं वाइफ का बर्थडे 24 जुलाई को है, तो मणिपुर में एक दिन ऑपरेशन में गए तो 14-15 दिन लग गए, तो 20 जुलाई से शुरू किया, 3 दिन तक किसी से मिलाप ही नहीं हो पाया, कोई जंगल से कम्युनिकेशन थ्रू नहीं हो रहा था। तो 23 जुलाई को हमारा राशन भी खत्म होगा, तो मैं पहाड़ी पे चढ़ा, क्योंकि जब ऊपर जाते हो तो रेडियो कम्युनिकेशन लाइन ऑफ साइट से हो जाती है। तो वहां पहुंच के मैंने एक अपने सीनियर अफसर को कॉल किया, तो वो मेरे से पूछ रहा है कि हाँ भी हेलीकॉप्टर से राशन भेजिए, क्या करें। तो मैं उसको बोल रहा हूँ 24 को ना वाइफ को फोन करके हैप्पी बर्थडे विश कर दे रहे। तो ये भी एक हद थी।
Now I'd like to take this opportunity to deliver a vote of thanks to our respected guests, to our audience. At the outset, I would like to thank Dhillon sir for sparing valuable time for the lecture, Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, faculty, students, volunteers for putting this event together. Now I would like to request all of you to please stand up for national anthem.